Professional Latter-day Saint critic Bill McKeever states, "Perhaps it is for these reasons that you will not find crosses on Mormon buildings. Certainly in the mind of the Latter-day Saint its significance is not equal to that of the Bible-believing Christian. Perhaps a better explanation would come from actual members of the church than critics like Bill McKeever." LDS Apostle M. Russell Ballard stated, "Most other Christians use the cross as a symbol of their devotion to Christ, a physical reminder of his crucifixion on Calvary. So why don't members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints follow suit? We revere Jesus. But while thoughts of the blood he shed for us in Gethsemane and on Calvary fill our hearts with profound appreciation, it isn't just the fact that he died that is so meaningful to us. Our hope and faith are rooted in the profound understanding that he lives today, and that he continues to lead and guide his church and his people through his Spirit. We rejoice in the knowledge of a living Christ, and we reverently acknowledge the miracles he continues to work today in the lives of those who have faith in him. That is why we choose to place less emphasis on a symbol that can be construed to represent primarily his death." Latter-day Saints focus on the resurrected Christ. We all know how the Savior died. Lots of people died by crucifixion in history, but only one rose from the dead. That separates Christ from all the others who suffered a somewhat similar execution method. Non-Latter-day Saint historians state this was the view of the early Christians. H. Child and D. Collis write in Christian Symbols, Ancient or Modern Rite. In the first 3 centuries AD the cross was not openly used as a Christian symbol, for the early believers looked beyond the crucifixion to the resurrection, and the emphasis was not on the cross of suffering and humiliation but on the promise of life with Christ here in the world and hereafter in the life beyond the grave. L. J. Averill writes, "The power of salvation," Paul says, "is not in the cross, as fundamentalist evangelists have claimed, but in the resurrection." This matches the view and practice of the Latter-day Saints. There is no scriptural mandate for the use of the cross by the followers of Christ and little evidence that the symbol was used by very early Christians. Catholic scholar Jerome Murphy O'Connor wrote, "During the first Christian centuries, the cross was a thing accursed. No one professed allegiance to Christ by wearing a cross. Even after the cross had been widely accepted as a symbol, there was a consistent refusal to accept its reality. Only 2 crucifixion scenes survive from the 5th century. The situation remains unchanged until the 12th century. In fact, in early times, the cross was a symbol used by pagans rather than Christians." Lane Fox in Pagans and Christians notes that the cross as a symbol was used by pagans before it was used by Christians. Long before and well into the Christian era, the cross was used in pagan art and iconography in many parts of the Old World. In Chaldea the Babylonians used the 2-beamed cross as a symbol of the god Tammuz. The Egyptians used the Tau cross on monuments and on the walls of temples. In Greece the temple of Serapis was surmounted by a cross, and the Greeks depicted crosses on the headband of their god corresponding to the Babylonian deity Tammuz. According to some early Christian writers, wooden crosses were among the military emblems of the 3rd century pagan army. Early Christian Minucius Felix from 170 to 236 AD reminds a pagan that it is not the Christians who needs to use crosses but the pagans. "For in that you attribute to our religion the worship of a criminal and his cross, you wander far from the truth. Crosses, moreover, we neither worship nor wish for. You indeed, who consecrate gods of wood, adore wooden crosses perhaps as parts of your gods. For your very standards, as well as your banners. What else are they but crosses gilded and adorned?" Finally, Wikipedia writes about the cross. During the first 3 centuries of Christianity, the cross was rare in Christian iconography as it depicts a purposely painful and gruesome method of public execution by impalement and/or exposure. The ichthys, or fish symbol, was used by early Christians to covertly identify each other. The Chi-Rho monogram, which was adopted by the Emperor Constantine in the 4th century as his banner called the Labarum, was an early Christian symbol of wider use. Descriptions of the cross are to be found in Christian writings from the early 2nd century onwards. The cross first became prominent in Christian imagery during the 3rd century in Egypt. There is no mandate for Christians to use crosses. The evidence suggests that Christians in the very early period of Christianity and Latter-day Saint practice are consistent with each other. On the other hand, there is nothing wrong with Christians using the cross on building and worship. If a symbol can help people draw closer to Christ, that is a good thing. Both Latter-day Saints and those who are not members have wrongly criticized each other on their motives regarding the use of the cross. Perhaps more charity and less ridicule of each other practice is a more sound approach. Thank you for your time.